Okay. What's good, sports fanatics? We want to welcome you to another episode of From the Grid to the Rim and everything in between as it relates to sports. I'm one of your co-hosts, Darylyn Brown, along with my co-host, Big Ken Fry.
What
Now,
up?
unfortunately, our other co-host, Monty Brown, has a delayed flight and was unable to join us for this episode. So we want to extend safe travels and graces his way and that he gets back home safely. So, Big Unc, hey, get home safe. We understand these things happen, but we'll definitely catch you on the next one, brother.
Yeah.
As you know, this is just a channel where we just like to have fun talking about sports and everything that we think is relevant in our point of view, of course. And in this episode, we want to focus on the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. And this, if the semis didn't give us enough drama and questions for days, we just want to go ahead and jump this off and just go ahead and kick this off our show about talking about that. Also, some current storylines that just dropped just today. With the big news coming out of Philly regarding the firing of Doc Rivers. We also heard the latest news regarding John Morant and that parent gun incident that the NBA is still investigating. And we also just want to do a quick recap on last weekend's closeout games, which we saw the Lakers versus the Warriors, Celtics versus the Sixers. And lastly, we'll definitely probably close out our show with our picks of who we think is going to pretty much take the Eastern and Western Conference final matches. So without further ado, let's just drop it off with Doc Rivers. Today, the notification came out that the 76ers organization decided to go ahead and let go of Doc Rivers. And like a lot of other pundits, I can't say that I didn't see this coming. I hate that they did fire Doc Rivers. I think he's pretty much the man for the job and could really do some great things in Philly. But at the end of the day, I think when you have a past of records where been close to making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, but yet no cigar, as they say, I mean, it's just what more can you say? And then you saw pretty much the gameplay of that game from the Sixers, which was not all that dominant of a performance. And that pretty much sealed the deal. So I can just say I'm surprised, but then again, I'm not surprised by his firing. But again, he's just one of those elite head coaches, definitely a Hall of Famer. And championships to boot. But at the end of the day, our organizations are gonna make their decisions. But I don't see it very long that he's gonna be out of a job anytime soon. He's Doc Rivers, so I definitely know there's going to be some teams in the running to try to opt for his services as well. I just hate it for the 76ers. I think him and Embiid were really good together. I think he was a really good coach for that organization. In spite of what you may hear about other people talking about it and the whispers coming out of the locker room and his relationship with Harden and things like that, at the end of the day, he's still going to be a great head coach somewhere. Again, it should not be hard for him to find a job. I just hate that it happened this way. But then again, that's just the nature of the business in regards to NBA. They want wins. They want to at least make it to the Eastern Conference Championship. And they have goals. And if you're not in position to exceed those goals or reach those goals, this is pretty much the end result sometimes. So, but definitely we want to just say thanks to Doc Rivers, and we wish him the best of luck in this next endeavor.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Sixers have had a problem in the second round. I don't think it's all just because of him, but they've had a problem getting out of the second round. The last 5 out of 6 years they've lost in the second round, but Doc Rivers does have a championship underneath his belt with the Boston Celtics, and they had the big three, KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. I think they're the first ones, if I remember correctly, to kind of start that big three concept. But Doc Rivers is a great coach. It's just hard to win a championship. He's only got one, but I'm not knocking him though, man. He's a good coach. He's going to get hired somewhere else, just like you said. I agree with that 1,000%. He's been around this game long enough as a player and a coach, and he's a quality person. I think he's a good person, and he's good for a locker room. He's the kind of guy that keeps the team, together. It's just unfortunate that I just think they're knocking him because they keep on losing in the second round. That's just my opinion. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just an opinion, but I think he's being held accountable for losing in the second round a
Of
lot.
course, of
Yeah,
course, of course. And as coaches should be. So at the end of the day, it's not easy, but at the end of the day, when you have some of the quality players that they do and an MVP and a Joel Embiid, I
yeah.
mean, you know, but again, we could touch more on a little bit on that on our synopsis on
Mhm.
how the game played out over the weekend.
Yeah.
But then the other story dropped last week, if I'm not mistaken. With John Morant, man, on a second gun charge, man, and I don't know if it came out this weekend or whatever. I mean, and man, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was maybe a recap of, or they found maybe some more evidence from the first incident, and it was more detailed incident. I had no clue it was a second. I just kind of bypassed the news. I was like, oh, maybe they just found some more evidence, and now they're really going to, go after them, saying more concrete evidence. But no, this is apparently they're investigating a second offense with him being seen with a gun and things like that. And I'm gonna just preface it with this, man. I want to see Morant make it. I mean, I'm new to him, but at the end of the day, man, his gameplay is so dominant. It's so dominant. And man, I see him as a cross between a Kyrie Irving and with a mix of Allen Iverson. And man, he could really be up there. And man, I really want to see this dude make it. But man, I mean, the the idiocracy, man, with some of these players, man, and these young minds, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. You got everything for you. You got, I believe, what, Nike endorsements, Gatorade endorsement. I mean, man, you could just live off endorsements, and these are the kind of stupid moves that will ruin anybody. And man, I don't want to see him fail, man, because of these dumb decisions, man. Whether it's true or not. Like I said, I'm not gonna. I know everything is still up in the air, a lot of questions. But at the end of the day, I was told a long time ago, man, sometimes you just got to be mindful of the company you keep, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe what you do. But he has money, he has the family, he has everything going for him, man. And I want to see this dude make it. But I just don't know, really. I mean, I guess like everybody else will just wait for more information to come out. But if this is his second offense, I cannot see the league not coming down with a little bit more stiffer, if not maybe double the penalty than he received for the first offense, or maybe a minimum of 25 games. I mean, it's harsh as all get out, but I mean, we live in a world of harsh realities sometimes. So I mean, but that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I remember I texted you this weekend about it. I found out on Sunday, it was right before the game 7 of Boston and Philly. I was watching on ABC, and they were talking about during the pregame show, Jalen Rose and Stephen A. Smith and all those guys, and I was just like, wow, they're showing the video. I mean, it's alleged. But like I said, everything's alleged. He hasn't been found. They're still investigating. But yeah, he was in a car and he was, flashing a gun when inside the car. So and I agree to. I think it's the company you keep because he is a great young player. He's just so young. I think it's like 23, but he just needs to. Yeah, I think he needs to get past this somehow. I think he needs to figure out who he needs to be like loyal to, and just be around better people. I'm not saying he has to disown everyone he knows from his past. He doesn't have to do that, but he needs to be careful with what he's doing with people because he's got so much attention on him. He doesn't want to hang out.
Absolutely.
He doesn't want to be hanging out with bad friends that can get him in trouble. He needs to hang out with like he needs to be mindful of make sure he's hanging out with good friends that he trusts, not someone that he's kind of suspicious about. Yeah, but people
Agreed.
were saying a lot of harsh things about him before the pregame. I mean, because Jalen Rose interviewed him, I guess, 2 months ago when the first, gun charge came out and he got suspended for 8 games. And, Jalen, Rose was talking to him and he interviewed him. And Jalen Rose comes from a past of being in the streets, growing up in Detroit and stuff like that. And can relate to him, and
Absolutely.
one thing he was saying though was, well, one thing Stephen A. Smith said, and I usually don't like Stephen A. Smith. I can't stand Stephen A. Smith overall, but every once in a while I agree with him. And one thing he said that stood out to me I thought was that kind of resonated in my mind was like, Jalen Smith has grown past. I mean, Jalen Rose has grown past it, and they didn't have this. We didn't have social media like back then, like in the '90s when they're growing up in the Fab Five and all those guys first came in the NBA, and so he wasn't aware, but John Morant is aware because he knows there's social media. He knows these things could be posted. That was a good point.
Absolutely.
And I'm not
Absolutely,
against
man.
John Morant at all. Like I want this
Yeah,
dude to be
man.
successful, just like you said, but he should be aware because in this day and age and the generation he's in, like my kids' age, my kids are in their early 20s, like they know everyone knows social media. They grew up in social media and we didn't. So he has
Yep.
to be better about that. And like Stephen A.
Oh,
Smith said, Jalen, Rose grew past that. He changed his mistakes, and that's exactly what you know, John Morant needs to do. Like Jalen Rose said, I was doing some things, but this wasn't being recorded, and I grew past it, and yeah, but this is a really harsh comment, but one other thing they said during this talk show before the Celtics game 7 was they feel like since he's already got his 5-year, like $200 million deal, they think like he feels like he's invisible, like he's got nothing to lose because he's already got this guaranteed money. And I don't know if that's true or not, but of course there's a lot of talk going on right now because he's in the hot seat.
sure. Sure.
Um,
No, you're absolutely right, man. And a lot of like Stephen A, man, I think he alluded to, he said, what's crazy about this whole situation is that, this was months ago. You know what I'm saying? This ain't like it was a year ago. You were suspended months ago.
yeah,
You know what I'm
recently.
saying? You were suspended months ago. And now here we are on a second time, months later or a month later. He said, what in the world? what didn't you get from that suspension the first time?
Yeah.
So it just, wow, it's just crazy to me. But I'm just gonna, continue to keep that man in prayer because at the end of the day, I want to see him make it. I want him to see him be a huge contributor in taking this NBA to another level, man. And he has the ability to do that single-handedly if he's willing to stay out of circumstances like this. So prayers up to John Morant, his family, and all those around him. And I pray that he just comes out of this situation and then comes out on top, learns from this situation, because he may have a lot of doubters, but he has a lot of supporters like myself as well.
Yeah.
So I want to see this man make
Me
it,
too. And Monty said
and
the
really
same
do
thing.
great things for the NBA.
No,
So
Monty said this. Me and Monty talked about this in the round 1 talk when it was me and him doing the show, and Monty said exactly that. Like he's pulling for him. I want John Morant to be successful, and so does Monty, and so do you. He's just got to make, like I said earlier, he's just got to make better decisions. I think he's got to really choose. He has to choose who his inner circle is, and be mindful of his inner circle, especially right now. Because he can't do anything else, like, anytime soon, but I hope he does, learn from this. But I think he needs to choose his inner circle wisely, and hopefully he moves on from this and gets,
yeah,
like I said, learn.
definitely. So prayers up to John, man. Definitely hope you come out on top with this. So let's go ahead and just dive into the recap of this weekend's past games. We had the Lakers versus Warriors going into a game 6. As a fan, I just could not see this going into a game 7. It was either here or now. It was do or die for both teams. And basically, from what I gathered from this game, I can sum it up like this. Basically, what could go right had to go right for LA and did go right for LA. And what could go wrong and had to go wrong for the Warriors did go wrong for the Warriors. Yet, unfortunately, Steph Curry dropped 32 points in collaboration with DiVincenzo's 16 points. And it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. When you're looking at a prolific scoring team like the Warriors, but yet you can't get definitive offensive support from other scorers that they have, that's a problem. I mean, come on, like
big
Poole,
problem.
7 points, Wiggins, 6 points, Peyton, 4 points, Green, 9 points, Klay, 8 points. That just don't even remotely sound like the Warriors that everybody knows. But yet, I'm not about to take anything away from the Lakers defense. It was one of the best defensive performances this season and in these playoffs. Dennis Schroeder was absolutely dominant on the court. From a defensive standpoint, until he got teed up on that second technical and got tossed out. I thought that could have been a game changer, but Lakers held strong. They started inserting their bench. People started contributing. You had Anthony Davis's 27 points, 20 rebound game. He was grabbing everything off that board, which was a huge effort. And like the old saying goes, the best offense is a good defense. Okay, the best offense is always going to be a good defense. And because of that defense, the Lakers seem to score at will. And then you see LeBron contributing 30 points and 9 rebounds and 9 assists, almost a triple-double. You had Russ with 19 points, Austin Reeves, 23 points, and that heat from half court to go into halftime.
That was
awesome.
Lonnie
Walker with 13 points. It was visions of Showtime Lakers all over again. When you shooting 50%, 52% from the field and 50% from three-point range, bruh, call it domination all day long. So that was my take from that game. What was your take, Ken?
My take was just how dang good their defense was, man.
Wasn't that?
Yeah, their
I'm
defense.
trying to tell you, man. I don't want to dismiss it, man.
No, their defense was good, but my takeaway is Klay Thompson had his first 2 games, he had 25 points and 30 points. In the next 4 games, he just didn't show up. Same thing with Wiggins, like he alluded to. And, Mr. Jordan Poole, there's a lot of, I won't say controversy, but there's a lot of things going on to him. Wonder if he's even going to be back next year. And Klay Thompson's up. I think his contract is up too. I think they'll pay Klay out, but you never know. But he'll look to see what other people got to offer, though. I'm just disappointed, and I'm glad the Lakers won because I want to win. But I was definitely, I was disappointed in Klay Thompson, especially because they've been the Bass brothers, but like I told Jack, you wouldn't have Steph Curry without Klay Thompson. They made each other better because you couldn't just focus on one player. As great as Steph is, and obviously he's the best player, but Steph is a really good number. Klay is a very good number 2, and I just like that how that's why they call them the Splash Brothers, like how they played together and how they fed off each other over the past 10 years. But I was disappointed in Klay Thompson, and the Lakers bench was amazing, especially, Lonnie Walker coming off injury, like scoring 15 points in the fourth quarter in that one game, I think game 4 to go up 3-1. Once it was 3-1, I felt like the Lakers, had it. But like my son said, Golden State gets themselves in these funny situations being down 3-1. They've come back from 3-1 a couple times in the playoffs, but they also lost 3-1 in the NBA Finals to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers with him and Kyrie. So, like my son said, Golden State Warriors got this thing being 3-1. Either they're up 3-1 or down 3-1, and weird things happen, man. So they got to get off this whole 3-1 skid.
I guess the question becomes now, what makes of the Warriors now? Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of changes coming up. So that'll be exciting to see and hear about. I definitely will keep our eyes on what's going to happen, what changes may be coming with the Warriors. Is Draymond Green coming back? As Jordan Poole going to let go, which is there's heavy talk about that. Yeah. So, a lot of changes are coming with the Warriors organization. So, hopefully all good things so they can continue to stay relevant and just continue just to, be that championship that everybody's accustomed to. The next game we want to get into is the 76ers versus the Celtics. Listen, man, from my standpoint, I was able to catch the first half. This looked like a nail biter by the end of the first half. The Absolutely. Game was close. Both teams going blow for blow. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it ended like 52-55 around halftime. And then, I turned away. I had to leave that second half, and I don't know what the heck happened. Next thing you know, my phone is getting jacked up with alerts all over the place. Jason Tatum was going nuts. Then next thing you know, I see he drops 51 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists. I'm like, what? And then I see the end score, 112-88. Man, congrats to the Celtics, man. And when I looked at the stats and the scores from that, I mean, like, man, they deserved to win. They really did.
Absolutely.
You saw a nice 25-point contribution from Jaylen Brown. Yet when you see Joel Embiid only able to contribute 15 points, which was not so MVP like him, and then James Harden only contributing 9 points, then the Celtics are absolutely more than deserving of this victory.
Absolutely.
And even the little support that they did get from Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, Tyrese Maxey, which they all three of those combined for about 47 points, it just wasn't enough. And ultimately, as we alluded to at the beginning of the show, this likely was the defining moment that led to Doc Rivers' release, unfortunately. So, congratulations to the Celtics. Congratulations to Jason Tatum. I'm sure that was a wonderful Mother's Day gift to his mom.
Yeah.
And man, I'm sure this is going to shape up to be a great series with Miami. So definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, that Jason Tatum broke the record, and the fun thing was that Steph Curry just set it in the first round, getting 50 points in Game 7 against Sacramento, and he outdid him, getting 51 in Game 7 in round 2. Yeah, so that was impressive, and yeah, that was nice on Mother's Day. He went up to his mom at the end of the game and hugged her. That was really cool. That was a nice moment. Yeah, Harden only had 2 good games in my opinion. The first game where he scored 45 when Embiid was out when they stole that Game 1, and then I think Game 4 he had 30 plus points. But other than that, he was relatively quiet. He had okay games, but the last game 7, yeah, like you said, Dwayne, Embiid and Harden, the 2 guys that needed to show up the most, just didn't have a good game, and that was that was it. And they got outscored 33-10 in the third quarter because it was close halftime. Just like you said, I thought it was going to go down to the end of the game. I thought it might even be an OT game the way it was going in.
Right.
They just I don't know what happened in the third quarter, but 33-10. They're down by like 27 points, I think, at the end of the third quarter. It was over.
Yeah, it was over. They need better scoring. And with that result, I'm not sure if I even see Harden there next year. I don't think I'm not sure I don't think he's just the best fit for the 76ers moving forward. So it's hard to see Harden there moving forward, and I'm sure 76ers are going to definitely shake things up going into the offseason and stuff like that. So wish them well, and congratulations to the Celtics. So with that being said, let's get into the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Ooh. So first up, we have LA versus Denver. Now, before I get my pick, I think we just kind of need to allude to, like, what is it going to take for each team to win? And I just came up with about 3 things that begs the question on how maybe the Lakers and maybe the Nuggets could either pull off this series. When I look at the Lakers, I want to look at, can Anthony Davis be consistent and dominant this series? Can he be consistent and dominant this series? Everybody keeps talking about, well, he shows up for games 1, 3, and 5, but can he be consistent? Because against a Denver Nuggets team like this is a different breed, and they're well balanced. So can he be consistent and dominant this series? Because I think the Lakers match up very well, but a key is a consistent and dominant Anthony Davis. Every game. Number 2, can their elite defense continue to contribute offensively? As I mentioned before, a good offense is equivalent to a good defense. So their defense has been elite. It's been in the top of the playoffs, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And it created a number of offensive opportunities, and they outmatched teams, the Grizzlies and and Golden State. So with that being said, can their elite defense contribute offensively for them? And then number 3 for the Lakers, can their bench outplay Denver, such as continued contributions from people like Hachimura, Reed, Schroeder, Walker, so on and so forth. So again, those are 3 things that I would like to see if Lakers can answer those questions this series. And then when I look at Denver, how effective will Denver's defensive matchup be against the Lakers? Can they match up defensively well with the Lakers, knowing that Lakers defense is that dominant and can be that dominant. How will they match up? Number two, can Jamal Murray be dominant throughout this series? Because at the end of the day, the Joker's going to get his. Joker's going to be the Joker. It's just no ifs, ands, buts about it. But how good can Jamal Murray be dominant throughout this series? And then number three, how good will their game plan be to contain Anthony Davis? Will they come up with a game plan to contain Anthony Davis? Will they play small ball? Will they, pick and roll, high pick and rolls and things like that to spread them out a little bit more? What is going to be their game plan? So these are the questions that kind of beg the question to see how each team is going to fare out this series. I think if these questions are answered by each team, I think the ones that answer the most questions could win the series. So that's kind of how I see that series playing out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another close. I think it's going to be a 6 or 7 game series, but I definitely think the Lakers have the better bench when I've seen on the playoffs so far. Hopefully, I don't jinx them with that, but
agreed.
I do think Denver's bench is just average. They're better than Phoenix's bench in round 2, and of course, Chris Paul got hurt and all kinds of other things, but their bench isn't great. They're just okay. Lakers got way more scorers off their bench. So if the Lakers bench plays well, I think they're going to win this series. But like you said, Murray has to show up. Murray and Gordon doesn't get a lot, but but the other Michael Porter Jr. is a big one. I think he might be the X factor for Denver because you have Jamal Murray, you got the Joker. Like I said, Joker's going to get his, but Michael Porter Jr. has got to do something this series. He's got to be the third scorer for Denver. If he can do that, it'll be interesting. But if he can't, I think the Lakers are going to get this without much of a problem.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
If he could play well, though, if the starters for Denver can play well, then they'll have a chance to go 6 or 7 games. But if they don't, I see the Lakers getting this, man. I think it's going to be a 7-8 seed, man. I really do. I do, man.
Potentially. And then we got the Heat versus the Celtics. I see the Heat's begging the question: can the Heat contain Tatum? Can they contain Tatum? We know he'll probably be dominant and get his, but Tatum is not going to be putting up no 50s every night. There was a couple of times in the series against the Sixers where they shut him down.
Yeah.
So it just took that kind of Tatum to actually blow him out this game and pretty much be dominant. Number two, can an elite playoff coach like Eric Spoelstra game plan well for the Celtics? And number three, just let Jimmy be Jimmy. You let Jimmy Buckets be Jimmy Buckets. You don't have to change nothing. You're in the game. Just let him be Jimmy, and I think everything will fare out in the Heat's favor. And then when it comes to the Celtics, can Jaylen Brown consistently take it to another level to be a major contributor in the series? And to be honest, I think Celtics need way more scoring than just Jaylen Brown and Tatum. They're going to really need scoring because Miami is a scoring machine.
Yeah.
And they are going to need help. And so I wonder how effective Jaylen can be in helping contribute to those points in every game in this series, and what kind of help are they going to get? And that's my biggest question for the Celtics. But as it comes down to who my picks are, I got the Celtics. I got the Heat beating the Celtics because I think the Heat are just this is Eric Spoelstra's forte. He's been here before. He knows what he's doing, and the Heat are scoring. And I'm sure they will love another matchup against the Lakers since the playing.
That's going to be the thing
since the championship game, and I'm sure Jimmy is mouth-watering to get that game back. So with that being said, I am definitely picking the Heat to go past the Celtics, and I'm definitely taking the Lakers over the Nuggets.
Yep. I'm taking the Lakers in 6 for everything I talked about earlier. And Miami, man. They got Jimmy Butler, like Monty, you and I were talking about last show. They have a veteran squad with a nice mixture of young players, and they got Kyle Lowry coming off the bench, and they got Jimmy buckets, and they got Bam on the inside who cleans up. Then they got these nice little players like Struss and Vincent and and Kevin Love. I mean, he's older, but he's still a veteran player, man. He still can do stuff occasionally. I mean, they just got a veteran team, man.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
could score. And but Boston does have Jason Tatum, and you know, but he, like you said, he was quiet in a couple of games in the Sixers series. But it's going to be interesting because there's Tatum, Brown, Brogdon, White, Marcus Smart. Boston is pretty deep, but like you said, I think with Miami's coach Spoelstra, I do think experience is going to win. I think it's going to be another game seven. Honestly, I think it's going to be a game seven. I think Miami's going to take it. But yeah, I like Miami. I think we're gonna have a 7-8 matchup in the finals for the first time in NBA history. They already made NBA history this round. The conference finals, first time a 7-8 seeds ever been in the conference finals. But like we said before, these aren't your typical 7-8 seeds. Like we said from the very first round, like the Lakers got LeBron James and AD and all these guys. They just got off to a slow start. It's kind of the same thing with the Miami Heat. Like they're not your typical 8 seed. They might have barely made it into the playoffs, but with the players they got though, like they're veterans, man, and like you said, they
Absolutely.
want that rematch against the Lakers from the Disney Resort series in the COVID year. They definitely wanna
Yep.
they want some
Absolutely.
revenge, man.
I
I think
believe
it's
that.
gonna come out. I think it's gonna be Lakers and yeah, Miami Heat in the finals, man.
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. Well, man, as usual, we get into this sports talk, and it's always a pleasure. And then we just start running out of time. So, with that being said, man, I think we're just gonna go ahead and close out here. Game one drops tonight between the Lakers and Denver Nuggets. Again, I am pulling for LA. Go Lake Show. Let's go. Let's do this. I think this could be a great series and a great talking point if Lakers were able to pull out this series, and we can definitely talk about that on our next episode. But other than that, any quick closing remarks before we close out?
Nah, I'm with you, Dwayne. Yeah, like Monty, get back safely, brother, man. Have a safe flight,
Get
and
back safely, brother.
yeah,
Get back
man. But
safely.
it was another good show, man. I'm interested in game one. I'm going for the Lakers too, man. I hope Lakers, if they win game one, they're off to a good start and they're in the driver's seat. They put a lot of pressure on Denver right off the bat. So I hope they get game one and put some pressure on Denver because if Denver loses game two, it's done. I think it's
Yeah,
done.
agreed. Well, with that being said, we want to say thank you for joining us on our latest episode of From the Grid to the Rim and everything in between. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and leave comments on who you got winning. It's all about the love and and showing love back. And who you rolling with in these conference finals, both East and Western Conference finals. So good luck to all the teams out there. Other than that, we'll see you on our next episode of From the Grid to the Rim and everything in between. Salute. Y'all have a blessed one.
Good night, fellas.